My.
What about Alan?
Is that our same problem on Wednesday?
Welcome everyone to our June 8th City Council meeting. Welcome to everyone here and at home. Thank you for doing that. First item up this evening is reciting the Pledge of Allegiance for Flag Day this evening. To commemorate Flag Day on June 14th, I will begin by reading an excerpt from a recent presidential proclamation and ask you to join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Over farmlands and town squares, atop skyscrapers and Capitol buildings, the American flag soars. It reminds us of our history, 13 colonies that rose up against an empire, and celebrates the spirit of 50 proud states that form our union today. On Flag Day and during National Flag Week, we pay tribute to the banner that weaves us together and waves above us all. For more than 2 centuries, Americans have saluted Old Glory in times of trial and triumph. Generations have looked to it as they steeled their resolve, and an unbroken chain of men and women in uniform has served under our flag. When we lay our veterans to rest, many go draped with the stars and stripes upon them, and their families find solace in the folds of honor held tightly to their chest. Because of their sacrifice, our nation is stronger, safer, and will always remain a shining beacon of freedom for the rest of the world. With a familiar design that has evolved along with a growing nation, our flag stitches the ideals for which Americans were born to the reality of our times. It reminds us that fidelity to our founding principles requires new responses to new challenges. As we prepare to meet the great tests of our age, let every American draw inspiration from this symbol of our past, our present, and our common dreams. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, we have representatives from our city's valued unions. These organizations protect and ensure the rights and success of our public employees and thus importantly contribute to the success of our greater community. The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, known as AFSCME, is comprised of over 600 City of Eugene employees who provide a broad spectrum of community services, including sweeping and repairing our city streets, maintaining our wastewater system, maintaining and cleaning our parks and public facilities, shelving and organizing resources at our library, reviewing and approving permits and payments, and efficiently handling countless community requests. Representing AFSCME tonight are Cindy Clark and Martin Lewis. Lane Professional Firefighters, IAFF, represents our city's many firefighters and emergency medical service providers who bravely protect and serve our community every single day of the year, helping to ensure that the community remains safe and robust. Representing Lane Professional Firefighters, IAFF, are members Ray Brown and Rodney Stewart. Eugene Police Employees Association represents about 220 of the city's police officers, detectives, 911 call takers, dispatchers, records specialists, community service officers, property specialists, forensic evidence personnel, and animal welfare officers. Representing the EPEA are President Jed McGuire and Vice President Michael Clues. Welcome to you all, and thank you so much for being here. Would everyone stand so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance together? Follow you.
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much for being here. Next up is, I should say that Councillor Poling is on the phone attending this meeting. Councillors Taylor and Evans and Zelenka are out of town. So here we are. And the next item up is a public forum. It's an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes, and I will better officially open that. So we have signed up 11 people. Here's where you come to speak. You can stand or sit, whichever you're comfortable with. And the first up is Jolene Simpson, followed by Mary McCullough.
George, can you use your mute?
Do I have to do anything with that? Hi, good evening. I'm Jolene Simpson. I'm a River Road resident, and I'm also on the board of the River Road Community Organization. Good evening, councilors, mayor, honored guests. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present tonight. This is a follow-up to a letter that I sent just recently on behalf of the River Road Community Organization. The board and our board is aware that Lane Transit District and the City of Eugene are embarking on a new planning process called Moving Ahead, which includes a preliminary study to determine priorities for corridor and transportation improvements in our community. And we want to express our support for efforts to improve these transportation options along the River Road corridor. We are in support of this process, but also would like to encourage you to do something more immediate and concrete about our community's safety needs, and prior to the completion of this study and any future planning processes. Over many years, board members have had the opportunity to listen to neighbors who've expressed concern about the speed of traffic on River Road and the need for improved transportation options and safe access across the road. This request comes from many voices expressed by neighbors over many years. We're not advocating for another traffic study. That's been done and provides only an auto-centric perspective and data. What we want is a human-centered perspective on transportation. When River Road was widened, there were essentially no provisions included for improving the safety of the road for bike traffic and pedestrian crossings. The road was widened to 5 lanes with an increase of the posted speed to 40 miles per hour. Over time, housing density has increased along this corridor. More homes have been built north of the Beltline, all of this adding to the traffic burden on the road. The current design clearly doesn't support any of the current transportation goals of developing multimodal transportation options, nor does it speak to the very basic human scale needs of the community and local businesses. If our goal is to create walkable, sustainable neighborhoods with enhancements that support multiple modes of transportation, then we will need to refocus efforts on redesigning the River Road corridor to better reflect the needs of the people. As a first step, and even prior to other planning and changes to the road and our transportation system, we support and advocate for reducing the speed to 30 to 35 miles per hour. There is no doubt that a slower speed with a redesign will better support transportation options and allow for safer passage. Recreating River Road will serve as an enhancement to the entire neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Mary McCullough, followed by Kimberly Clayton.
Hi, this is not going to be pretty, but I have to...
Just introduce yourself first.
Oh, my name is Mary McCullough, and I live in Eugene, Oregon since I was 19 years old. Crime has existed here. 40 years ago, my 27-year-old male neighbor was killed by a gang member on the downtown mall. 30 years ago, my landlord was found dead in the back of a taxi. And since I've been back, I had moved away. I've been robbed 175 times since 1998. And I would like you all on the panel to refer to the picture of the beautiful girl in the back of the book and take a careful look. And this person is very, very close to me. And she came out from Missouri when she was 8.5 months pregnant, like 12 years ago. And she was by herself in the house. She heard a noise. She opened the door to look around, and 2 masked men broke in, and they stuck a knife up to her neck. They grabbed her driver's license and said that they would be hurting her, maiming her, raping her, killing her, whatever, if she ever said anything. And they continued to rob the whole house. The police were called, and not even one of the German shepherds was able to pick up a scent. And to this day, she suffers anxiety and has to take medication. And the house that I live in the Churchill neighborhood, we moved pretty fast after that. A teen was raped there by a Eugene police officer a number of years ago when he was out raping the women, and he was incarcerated, and the women were compensated to some degree. So I want to say that I am against the sponsors, Housing Authority of the 60 male prisoners, $8 million project in the cluster of the neighborhood. And we just don't really want that there, and we don't want the police running around the neighborhood either. And if they want to, they can go out to Burns, Oregon. There's a bus that goes every day to sponsors. People can take the bus out. They can do the UAs on their people, whatever they do. There's plenty of land. It's flat. They can't go running and hiding. And the people out there do like people. They know what's going on, and they will not befriend people. So it would be good if maybe they moved elsewhere. Thank you.
Kimberly Glidden is next, followed by Lorraine Hunt.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Glidden. I live downtown. And I don't know if you've given up on Skinner's Butte lately, but I encourage you to go up there this time of year while the trees are fresh and green. If you look off, in the area where the flag is and toward Spencer's Butte, you're going to see a really beautiful sight, a sea of green. It goes from butte to butte with the little buildings in downtown and all of Eugene sticking up around it. You just look out there. It's this big, beautiful carpet of green. It tells me things like fresh air and cleanliness. I mean, go up there and experience it. I mean, it really gives you a perspective of our town from a beautiful point. As much as I love fresh air, and my dream world would be a world where no one smoked, where there weren't cigarette butts on the ground, where all the money spent on cigarettes went to help the homeless and for other issues. But that's not the reality. The reality is a lot of people smoke, and it's a big business. It's not going to go away. And you can't even enforce the smoking laws in the areas downtown you've deemed not smoking for health reasons, like the library or LCC or the bus station. People every day stand in front of the no smoking signs and smoke, just like people ride their bicycles down the no bicycle area just to spite it. I've had people walk down the whole way past 4 no smoking signs in front of LCC, smoking a cigarette and blowing it in people's faces as they go by, and demand that that's their right to smoke. And I believe I told you a lot of people would come here if you started the smoking ban to argue their right to smoke and to continue what I consider air pollution, and it's fine. But I think we have to be real and try and work on ways to educate people, maybe to respect the areas that we've deemed no smoking, maybe not to throw their cigarette butts on the ground, because that ends up in our rivers and streams. Just look in the drain on the sidewalk over by the library and count how many cigarette butts are in there. That's nicotine going into our waterways. It affects the fish, the wildlife, and bees especially use water to cool their hives in this kind of heat and to make honey. And as we all know, nicotine's really harmful to bees. The areas where they're going to get water is going to be in the shallow areas where there's a lot of cigarette butts and nicotine concentration. Maybe we need to become more conscious before we can put bans on and have it more so that people choose not to do these things, where people choose to do the right thing. And maybe then when people become more educated and choose, maybe then we'll have that better world. But I don't think putting ordinances that are impossible to enforce are a solution. And I think working on what we have is the answer.
Thank you. Lorraine Hunt is, no clapping, please. Thank you. Lorraine Hunt is next, followed by Andrea Papadimitriou, I think.
Well, those are being passed along to the commissioners. I'm Lorraine Hunt, and I live at 2610 Edgewood Drive in the Santa Clara community. I'm sorry. And while those are being passed out, I want to read, I looked online for these, and I wasn't even able to write out my speech because Metropolitan Affordable Housing had these listed as their values online when things happened in our neighborhood. These were the values: compassionate. We respond to community needs with care and respect by creating quality housing environments and meaningful support services. That's not on there. Those are maps. I just want to read you the values that I couldn't find today before I came. Entrepreneurial, we maximize opportunities by being nimble, innovative, proactive, and visionary. Collaborative, we make more happen by building relationships and working together with the community. Accountable, we answer to the community by acting with integrity, honesty, transparency, efficiency, and exceptional value. I'm going to repeat. We answer to the community by acting with integrity, honesty, transparency, efficiency, and exceptional value. On the first map, this map right here, our home is 2610. There's a home beside it, and that was undeveloped green space that you see there, and there was unlimited parking along that road right there for the people living in those homes before affordable housing came. So the next map, I'm doing this quickly, is the affordable housing map when the affordable housing units were installed. You'll see all the parking units there, and you'll see the two homes, and I have the paths where our front doors go. Not one single space on that lot has been allowed for the people living in those homes. I park my car in our garage, and I have to leave through the drive. That's all there is. My husband can't live there anymore. He's living somewhere else. My son, his car is parked off-site. Our family hasn't met there for years. That's our home. And friends have no place to park. Come look. Here's my phone number, my address. There's visitor spaces all around. No spaces for people living in those homes. And people in the apartments can have more than one vehicle on the lot that are not covered up, and they can have friends unlimited. Father's Day, it's going to be a problem. My family can't be there. So I was hoping to get something done about this on Father's Day. That won't happen. But I wanted to tell you about that and raise your awareness that what happens when we have nothing against the affordable housing people. It's management that has not recognized the needs of homeowners in that space. It's not the affordable housing people at all, but it's management and mismanagement. Gross. So please take a look at this, and I know by Father's Day our family won't be able to meet there, but I'm hoping sometime in the future we can be treated like all the people in the affordable housing units, like more than 100 there, and have parking that our family can meet, that our friends can meet there. Just come look, and you'll see you can only park in our drive. So thank you very much. Please take concern.
Next is Andrea Papademetrio, followed by Josephine Coe, it looks like.
Hello, my name is Andrea Papademetriou. I live in Eugene. I'm a current student at LCC Community College. Being a student of environmental science, I can tell you that 97% of scientists today agree on climate change. This is caused mainly by CO2 emissions from burning fossil fuels. Today I'd like to say something about cigarette smoke. I think it's not one of our main concerns considering public health. It's something that we choose. I personally, I'm part Native American, and tobacco use is not only ceremonial, it is part of my life. It always has been. I think that restricting people's use of tobacco is infringing on personal choice. Not to mention that our health care is probably booming because we are smokers. I think that possibly it could be some way to keep homeless people from gathering around businesses, and businesses would not be businesses without smokers. And that's all I have to say.
Josephine Coe is next, followed by Steve Brigham.
Hello, Mayor Piercy and City Council. My name is Josephine Coe. And I was here, I was at the other meeting at the City Library, May 12, and I spoke about the sponsors' proposed project, the Oaks. And we have made progress. My group and I have been making progress on the work. And we did write to the Oregon Housing
Bring a
and
mic at the level your mouth is. Yeah.
the Oregon Housing and Community Services in Salem, as well as I called into the teleconference for the Oregon State Housing Council June 5th. We also contacted the Attorney General, Department of Justice, and we got a response that it is the responsibility of the Oregon State Housing Council to do housing issues, which it is. What we proposed was for the city to buy back from HACSA the lots on 1420 and 1430 Oak Patch Road and build a community center with a satellite library because we don't have anything for our children there. And just yesterday, I noticed that one of my next door neighbor's daughters, she's barely 16, she's already 8 months pregnant. She didn't even finish high school. But, you know, this is an at-risk youth neighborhood, and so we need to help them out so they can be valuable citizens for community. And so we're asking that sponsors move their location to more viable locations. That would be the abandoned Hynix up near Walmart, and it's abandoned, and they took $1 million tax breaks from the Eugene Springfield Metro Business Partnership years ago under John Lively, and it's not being used right now. So why don't they place their location there? Also, we are, if we are to welcome these 54 to 60 all-male ex-cons and ex-sex offenders, we are already losing a lot of people in our area. The exodus already started. In my immediate vicinity, 5 families have already moved out. That's homeowners. Doesn't include the renters in the apartments. And there are like 10 apartment complexes on both sides and condos. Like I said before, there are 7 schools in the vicinity, several daycare centers, some playgrounds, including Acorn Park itself. And so this is just not a good match for having children on the one hand and this population on the other hand. So we're asking, and we plead with you to please hear our cause. To one thing, to have sponsors move. Thank you.
Steve Brigham is next, followed by Jason Mo Buckley.
Hello, Steve Brigham, Eugene, Oregon. I'd like to first thank you for that beautiful speech about Flag Day. That was very moving. I would like to also say that it is very relevant to today's topic of the smoking ban that we're addressing. I'm not going to address the liberty aspect of it, but the justice aspect of it. As was previously mentioned, there are a disproportionate amount of homeless smokers and poor smokers, and I spend a lot of time in the public parks around here 2 days a week. I distribute food to the homeless and poor, and if you spend any time in the parks, you will see that this is a congregating place for the homeless, not only to receive these benefits, but also just because they have no other place to go. I do believe that if this ban takes effect, it will not curb in any way the amount of smokers in these areas, but will result in one thing, and that is the fines being issued to people who cannot afford to pay these fines. I see it every day with other things. The people who receive the fines of these laws are people who could never pay them off, and just gets them deeper and deeper into these situations. I do believe that it would be a travesty of justice to enact this bill and make it so these people are persecuted even further. I do not believe that people are being inconvenienced by the current smoking laws. I do believe that the ban on smoking in bus stations, as well as outside eating establishments, outside other places where people cannot avoid it, is enough. People can avoid people smoking in parks. They're not going to be inconvenienced. They can go around. This bill will only have one result, and that is people being fined who cannot pay these fines. Thank you.
Jason Buckley is next, followed by Jeffrey Keim.
Hello. Sorry, I got a deep voice. My name's Jason Buckley. I've been living in the Eugene area for about 16, 17 years now. Majority of it's been working downtown, too. I think if you pass this ban, it's going to have some harsh economic impact. A lot of people I know that smoke have already told me that they wouldn't come downtown because I work at the Horsehead Bar, that we have one of the best smoking patios in downtown, and that is a big draw. If you propose a 25-foot ordinance from the sidewalks, a lot of people, that will affect most of our smoking patio, and I know for a fact a lot of people won't come in. They'll go other places, Springfield, the wetlands, things like that. I also believe the businesses that don't have smoking areas will be affected greatly too. There's a lot of people I know that don't smoke on a regular basis, but when they go out with their friends a couple nights a week, dancing, cocktails, they'll occasionally have a cigarette or two. I think this would really hurt our business, plus the bigger business where we get our distribution, our food, our liquor, our beer, all that kind of things. I would think that would put a huge economic impact on downtown Eugene. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Keim is next, followed by Aaron Mitzel.
Good evening, City Council. My name's Jeff Keim. I'm a Eugene resident. I'm a taxpayer, and I'm a voter. And I'm opposed to the smoking ban. First and foremost, an issue that's already been touched on, I think it's a thinly veiled attack on the homeless. It's a civil rights issue. And you're a freely elected body that's supposed to serve the will of the public. Your job is not to legislate morality. And that's what you're doing with the ban. It's an attack on the homeless, and it's an attack on civil rights. It's also an attack on local businesses, as mentioned by Mr. Buckley. If you create an arbitrary line, it's not a citywide ban, you're going to create an arbitrary line, an area where you can't smoke. People will just cross that line to other businesses where they can smoke, which will hurt the core of downtown. It will hurt every business downtown. It will hurt the restaurants. It will hurt the bars. I believe it will hurt everyone economically. And I don't want to lose my job. None of my friends want to lose their jobs. We don't want to be homeless either. Nobody does. I also believe you might see an increase in drunk driving if you get rid of smoking downtown, because a lot of people I know come downtown to have a few drinks, as is their right, because the bus station is centrally located downtown. Therefore, they don't have to drink and drive. They can take the bus, have a few drinks, and go home safely on the bus. Eliminating this option for them, they'll have to go somewhere else. They'll probably drive. They will probably drink and drive as a result. I strongly urge you to reconsider the ban. The take on it seems to be that everyone's going to go for this thing, and it'd be real easy to do. The fact is there are a lot of people like myself who are strongly opposed to any smoking ban downtown. Thank you.
Aaron Mitchell is next. Aaron. And last up is Charles Hibbard.
I'm not a business owner downtown. I'm actually a patron at one of the bars downtown. I smoke cigarettes. My objection to the ban is that the average automobile exhibits, well, it actually just ejects about 20 cigarettes a minute when it's running, and carbon monoxide and other toxic chemicals. I don't feel as if banning smoking is actually doing anything, but it's an aesthetic thing. People don't like the smell. I get that. I don't like the smell of people's perfume. We're going to ban that downtown? My objection is not to smoking per se. I really don't believe that. I try not to smoke around children, but I don't believe that banning it downtown is going to make an appreciable health effect on anyone, as long as we have automobiles driving around downtown. And the other thing is that how many of you have been somewhere where you're actually offended by that? Does it feel as if you're actually being punished by somebody or hurt by somebody somehow by the smell of tobacco? Maybe we should ask ourselves, do we have something better to do with our time? Is there something better we can spend our time debating? Is there something better we can do? We used to have a decent downtown, and now it's coming back and causing it to falter by banning a lot of the people that hang out down there may not be the best move. Eventually, we probably won't smoke cigarettes as a culture, as a species. But for now, it's really not the worst thing we do. It's really not. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Charles Hibbert.
My name is Charles Hibbert. I've never smoked. I'm not going to smoke, and I don't intend to smoke. I have a business down on West 11th. I have customers that come visit from Japan, sometimes from Mexico, and I take them downtown, and invariably they'd say, hey, I'm going to hang outside, have a cigarette while you book the table, and then we'll go inside and have some dinner. They'll come out and probably have a smoke because they don't want to smoke in the car. And I think that's going to affect an accumulated effect over the whole economy in Eugene. Those people, if I have to take a customer to Eugene and I know that he's a smoker, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go to Springfield. And I often take customers down here that come from out of town, and a lot of them are smokers. They come from Asia. They're heavy smokers. That's the thing, but it's the fundamental thing. You guys are probably looking at me and saying, why you always come up here to talk? Well, it's because I'm a sort of a libertarian, conservative, and this is a result of the people you guys are voting in. I'll give you a little thing here. Here's a saying, here's a quote that was done by Andrew Jackson. It says, my fellow citizens, that internal vigilance by the people is the price of liberty, and that you must pay the price if you wish to secure the blessing. It behooves you, therefore, to be watchful in your states as well as in your federal government. What he's trying to say is, as a citizen, citizens should be watchful that the government is not getting out of control. And this is overstepping the line. This is social engineering. It's not anymore a health issue. If somebody's standing outside there smoking, and I'm a non-smoker, and I can't bear a person smoking right next to me, I'll move off and let the smoker smoke because I respect his right to have a cigarette. It's also overbearing government is incrementally taking away your freedoms. You guys vote for these people, but then you complain that they're making laws that you don't like. It's like the West Eugene EMX. People that oppose the West Eugene EMX down in West 11 voted these people in. It's just unbelievable. And they just keep on doing, the city council, out of all due respect, is you just do whatever you like. And we end up paying the cost. I think that this is overstepping the authority of government to come and tell people what to do in their freedom. It's taken away our freedoms. Thomas Jefferson said, I predict the future happiness of Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. And this is a pretense of taking care of people that aren't even going to be affected, to get some new law on government that's not going to be enforceable. And if you're thinking about the cigarette butts, that's a separate issue. Thank you.
I'm going to close the public forum and thank everyone for coming and expressing their views on the proposals around smoking and around the Acorn Park area, all the things that people care about. Thank you so much for being here. Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
I want to thank everybody for coming and for expressing their point of view. I appreciate that. I'm looking to see if Ms. Hunt is still here. I don't think so either. I see her in the back, but if by chance she's watching this online or on TV later, please contact me. I've just discovered from looking at this maps that you're in my ward, and I'd like to help.
Correct. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's a consent calendar. Council President?
I move to approve the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
No.
Discussion? Hearing none. We're going to ready to vote on that. All those in favor, please indicate.
I vote yes.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yes and no opposition. So it passes. Thank you. So now we're going to, before we go into the next item on your agenda, we're going to talk for a minute about the public hearing that we're going to be having on the proposed sick leave. There have been some changes, not changes, but at the state level. They've been working, I think it's going to pass a statewide sick leave. And so one of the outstanding issues around that was, would we have businesses have to get ready twice? And so Glenn's going to talk to us about what is going to come before you in the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as you noted, the legislature is considering a bill that would enact a statewide sick leave law. That bill is SB 454. It has now passed out of the Ways and Means Committee. It was read a second time in the Senate today. It's scheduled for a third reading and possible action by the Senate tomorrow. Assuming it passes, it would go over to the House. It's possible that the bill will be approved by the legislature by the end of the week, and then it would go to the governor for signature. That bill contains a preemption, clearly preempts all cities, counties, any political subdivision of the state from adopting or enforcing or implementing any local sick leave law. The bill goes into effect, at least the way it's structured right now, on January 1st. The preemption goes into effect on January 1st, assuming it passes the way it is. The ordinance that the council passed has an effective date of July 1, and unless the council postpones that effective date, then businesses would need to gear up for the city's ordinance and then change what it's doing in order to then comply with the state law. The state law is similar, but it's not identical to the city's ordinance, so businesses would have to gear up twice. In addition, unless that July 1 date is postponed, the city would move forward with training through BOLI, which would cost the city some dollars, and the result of that would be, in essence, at the end of it, wasted because the businesses would stop complying with the city ordinance and start complying with the state law. So what you will have before you next Monday is, before a public hearing, is an ordinance that would postpone the July 1 effective date of our ordinance until October 1. We chose that 3-month extension several weeks ago before we knew just how quickly SB 454 might move. It could be by the time you consider the public hearing or hear the public hearing that the legislature will already have completed action. So you would have a couple of options at that point. You could adopt the ordinance as it is, in which case we would come back to you prior to October 1 and ask you to repeal the sick leave ordinance. You could extend the effective date from July 1 until January 1, at which point the state law would take effect, and we would come back to you toward the end of the year and ask you to repeal the city ordinance so it doesn't remain on the books. Alternatively, if the legislature has actually passed and the governor has signed into law SB 454 by the completion of your public hearing, you could also give us direction to bring you back an amendment to that ordinance that just repeals it before July 1, and then that way businesses wouldn't need to comply. So you'll have all of those options open to you. I can't tell you that the Senate's actually going to take final action tomorrow. I don't think, well, I don't know. Maybe somebody does. And then how quickly the House will act or how quickly the governor would act. Until the governor actually signs the measure into law, I wouldn't recommend that you repeal our ordinance, but it appears that, as the mayor said, it is going to pass and be signed into law.
So the only caveat I would make to the comments you make, Glenn, is that I believe in the proposed statewide ordinance that they're leaving Portland's ordinance in place with this six employees unless being exempted.
Yes and no. So they are allowing Portland's threshold of 6 to remain into place, but Portland's ordinance, just like Eugene's ordinance, will be preempted. So the laws will apply across the state so that every business is going to comply with the same requirements. The difference is that in Portland, if you are, and it's 6, I just can't remember if it's 6 and under or 6 or more.
6 or more.
Then it's unpaid, it's mandatory unpaid leave, and if it's more than 6, then it would be paid leave. For the rest of the state, it's 10.
Right.
But in terms of the actual requirements, is it, how many hours per?
It's the same.
All that will be the same.
Right. Questions?
Councilor Brown has him.
Councilor Brown?
I had the exact same question.
Okay.
And
Good.
that answered my question
Okay, if they're
about
not.
Portland.
Did he?
Yes,
Covered me.
yes.
So just to clarify, if we take one of these recommended actions on, or we have the public hearing, and then we'll take action supposedly at some point after that public hearing, whether that night or our next meeting, if the council agrees to move our effective date or essentially accept the fact that the state law is going into effect and our ordinance will be void, will we need to do anything specific around administrative pieces, around the city preparing businesses for our ordinance? Do you need any direction from us around those pieces of the training and outreach and those kinds of other more administrative items?
Not if the council approves the ordinance that we're bringing to you on Monday. We have postponed the training until we had an opportunity to see whether you wanted to postpone the effective date. If you do that, we just won't go forward with the training. We won't sign. We haven't actually signed the contract with Boley because we didn't know exactly when it should start. So, no, we don't need any additional direction, but thank you for asking.
Everybody okay? Okay. George, did you have any questions? Councilor Polling?
No, ma'am, I didn't. Glenn pretty much answered any question that I had.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it. We'll move on now to committee reports. And we have reports from the Police Commission first.
So the commission meets next week. So I don't have any new updates. They had a retreat and they drafted a work plan, and I believe they're on our schedule to come at some point not too long from now to present that to us, the chair and vice chair.
Councilor Clark?
Yeah, I also want to mention that we had an interesting discussion on the issue of citizens filming police officers at this last month as well, around that policy, and I expect that. Yeah, we approved the policy, but I expect that we'll hear more about that and how the chief is implementing as time goes on.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a couple comments about the next one, which is the South Willamette Economic Development Corporation. So it used to be the Metro Partnership, but it's a new iteration. And I will actually say a little bit about it. But I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'll ask the manager if he has any additional comments to make, because I know he was in attendance. So the things that I know is they have an interim director in place, and they are searching for the long-term executive director. And I also know that there's lots of activity, of inquiries in our area, and lots of economic development opportunities that are in play. In fact, if you saw the article in the paper on all the businesses that want to expand, that are already here, that want to expand, it's quite a good number and a good thing for us, I think.
Mayor, I think you covered it, unless you want more details around the recruitment or in the interim position, but you've covered all the details.
All right. So now we'll, Councilor Fuller, you want to say anything about the LTD MX Steering Committee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was unable to attend the EMX Steering Committee last week. However, I would just point out that LTD is out in the community with their moving ahead presentations with I attended the one at Monroe Middle School, and it was a pretty good turnout, and the people that attended had an opportunity to really get involved with some of the applications are looking at as far as some of the construction, or not construction, but the way some of the streets could possibly be designed. So that's about it for now. Like I said, I didn't make the last steering committee meeting, however.
Thank you, Councilor Poling. And Councilor Brown, the McKinsey Watershed Council?
Well, unfortunately, I was had jury duty and was a trial at our last meeting, so I have nothing to report. I will make this Thursday's meeting, though,
Okay,
barring any more jury duty, so I'll have something to report next time.
great. So now I'll open it up to anybody have any other comments they want to make? We'll say welcome back to Councilor Pryor. I know he had such a terrible time being away from us.
It was very difficult.
I know.
Someone's got to do it.
Sacrifices.
Yeah.
In Europe. All right. So nothing from anybody? So that's the end of our business for this evening and the end of our air-conditioned space, evidently. And although you may have one at home, I don't. I'm just going to go home and sit in the backyard in the
Sweltering heat.
sweltering heat.
Turn on the fan.
I do have a fan. Yep. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Glenn. Nice job.
It's the second.